Hey, today, just full disclosure before you get into this, because I just want to be really, really transparent, is that sometimes we talk about stuff that might be a real trigger for you to go, and I don't want to talk about it or hear about that. We're going to talk about some different things. We're going to talk about some abuse. We're going to talk about some suicide attempts. We're going to talk about some sexual abuse that's happened on some of our lives as a child. And there are seasons when you're ready for that and seasons when you're not. So didn't want to ambush anybody, but that we're going to be covering some really heavy stuff today. I hope you stick around. Hey, babe, welcome back to the podcast, which is yet to be named because we're rebranding everything around here. How's that for clarity? Anyway, hey, we're going to have a conversation with a good friend of mine. I consider you that. And gosh, Tiaan, we go back, I think the first time we met was in a goose pit out in Hudson, and I'm like, who's this guy? And this South African guy who talks funny, and later I find out wears really strange underwear. But that's another podcast. But your brother-in-law and I are trying to change that part of your life.
I'll change you before you change me.
It won't happen. But
anyway,
hey, your story is it's a tough one, but it's a really redemptive one. You know, sitting now, looking back, in the midst didn't feel really redemptive, but I know it's rough because one is we sat at a Mexican food restaurant about 2 years ago, and I heard your story, and then I made reference to it on the podcast, and then I thought I should probably let Tiaan know that I left his name out, but I told a little bit of your story, and then you listened to the podcast, and I think you told me that you pulled over and puked on the side of the road.
Yeah, because
you never really heard anybody else say that back.
You know, to your point, it is. Yeah, it's exactly it. Like, I can tell my story, and because I can prep myself, I can manage my heart rate, all that kind of stuff, right? But as soon as you hear someone else, like, holy cow, that is my story.
Yeah.
Like, it's an instant drawback, and you're right back into that moment where this scene unfolded in front of you.
And to be clear, I didn't break integrity, and I didn't call you out by name and blah, blah, blah. But I made reference to a man's story, and you knew I'm talking about you. And you were on your way to your men's group day, and like
right under, I'm coming on 470. Heading to Broomfield, and right underneath I-25,
you pull over.
I had to pull over. I was lit up.
Yeah, my bad.
Not in a bad way. Yeah. I was just all sorts of emotions.
Well, yeah, it takes you there. And that was a couple of years ago. And then recently I taught on this choice to forgive, not based on emotion, but based on really it's about you and not the person that I need to forgive. It has little to do with that person as much as my need to become the kind of person that isn't trapped in whatever. And so I remember as I walk off stage and I go back to the green room and my phone is lighting up from messages from you. And it's like, thank you and fuck you. And because it's both, right? It's
and it is.
It is both. And probably when we talk about, I mean, if somebody scratches your car, it ticks you off, but you can forgive them. You know, if somebody hurts your feelings, you can forgive them. But there's certain things that happen to us in our life that they have the ability to determine the rest from now on. Right? For better or worse. All right. And before we even started rolling the camera, you're talking about being a leader and a coach in men's work, in leadership work, of accountability, of transparency, of vulnerability, all the words that if we hit rewind and go back to some punk kid in South Africa, those words don't describe you.
That was not me.
Right.
For sure.
I wish we had 5 hours because your story could fill 5 hours easy. Or it could be a movie, right?
Oh boy.
Let's go back to South Africa. You're over there. You're playing rugby, right? Rugby or rugby.
I was very active.
Guiding, hunting. You're an outdoors guy. You're
very much.
But even before that, as a kid, there's stuff starting to form you into what I'll use your word because later you kind of refer to yourself as a monster.
Yep.
Right. But let's go back to the kid in South Africa. Talk about what got you.
How far back are we going, Jim?
Well,
honestly, I can remember, usually with traumatic experience, those things light up like crazy. Memory serves you really well in that sense. Supposedly, it was supposedly be a good household, right? And I just remember 3 years old, mom standing in the kitchen, dad standing in the bedroom, and mom asking us who we were going to be with because she's leaving. I run to my dad. This is the beginning of the divorce, right? I'm running to my dad. I vividly remember my mom grabbing me and my sister, throwing us in the truck, and off we went to my grandmother. I wish I could use the words. I'm not going to say it here, but small little town in South Africa. And that's where essentially I grew up. Fast forward a year after, so 4 years old, mom got remarried to a drunk. This is where stuff's getting real quick. So just bear with me as I'm just navigating this again. It was after the wedding, things started getting really bad. Stepdad being a drunk. He was an over-the-road trucker. So he wouldn't be home other than like maybe weekends here and there. But even if he was home, he'd be drunk, right? So in my opinion, that's why my mom took all the abuse out on me and my sister. Okay. Because she just didn't get the affection or the attention or whatever she was looking for. She just didn't get it. Okay. Anyway, so that was the first start of the physical abuse. Fast forward after that, it was right before I turned 5. Had my first boner. I don't know if we can even say it here.
Yep. I think it's in the Bible.
Okay. So, and I remember my mom playing with it. Like, this is okay. Don't worry about it. And I'm going to get very vivid here. And to me, that was just like, okay, this is normal.
It's my mom.
I trust her.
Trust her, right?
You know, the person I should trust the most in this world is doing this to me. Well, that didn't stop there. It went from that to me sucking on my mom's boobs, playing with her vagina. It wasn't until I was 9 that it got really even more intimate than that. And you know where I'm going with more intimate than that.
Yeah. At 9, how are you processing this? Is it like, to me,
that's normal?
Is it normal?
Right? To me, up until that point is normal. It wasn't until I go back to school and I start talking about what I'm experiencing at home and none of my friends are talking the same language. That's when I start realizing like, wait, you don't do this with your mom? And then I get laughed at and I get made fun of. And then things start clicking like, okay, this is not right. So later that year, that was the first time I tried to commit suicide.
Is it 10-year-old?
9-year-old.
9-year-old.
Still 9-year-old, right before 10. Cut my wrist, laid in the bathtub. My grandma found me, brought me to the hospital, they got me back. Because the biggest reason why I wanted to commit suicide is because if her life is sucking so bad and I'm getting the brunt of it, the only way she's going to feel better is if I eliminate myself. Right?
Yeah.
So that was the whole idea was like, her life will become better if I can just stop living, because at that point I was getting most of the abuse. My sister was 3 years older than me, so she knew a little bit more. She knew to stay away.
It's crazy because as I've talked to other people who have either attempted suicide or their children have, there's this broken part of it. It's an act of service.
Yep.
You're actually thinking you're serving your family and loving by just removing yourself, and then their problems go away. It's broken and it's a lie, but it's not uncommon for a childlike brain to land in that answer.
Well, right. Like, what else do I think?
Right. I get it.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, our situation sucks blatantly.
Yeah.
Right. So fast forward for the next couple of years, I fell back into, now we're actually having more physical abuse, more sexual abuse, like forced. Not just like well, this is just what we do kind of scenario. Now it's a forced scenario. 11 years old, second time trying to commit suicide. My grandma, again, saving grace. I had my stepdad's .45 revolver that was always in his nightstand. And for some odd reason, my grandma, by God's grace, my grandma stepped into the house because our hallway was a long hallway, and I had to go from my mom's bedroom where the revolver was, just down the hallway a little bit, is immediately to your left is the bathroom. As my grandma stepped into the house, I'm going into the bathroom and she sees the gun. I'm closing the door. I didn't know she was coming in behind me. I'm closing the door. I'm racking it, sitting on the toilet, and my grandma kicks the door in. And there I was stuck. The reason why I wanted to commit suicide then was like, I could not handle this pressure anymore. Like, none of my friends are talking the same thing. Everybody at school is asking me, why are you bruised and bloody? Why do you have another black eye? Why do you cover up so much? And I just felt that was the loneliest time of my life.
Yeah.
Because I only had my grandma, and she was the saving grace. So she actually took me out of that household. I lived with her.
Did you tell her what had happened?
No, because I was still protecting my mom. Not until I completely, at the age of 12, completely lost my mind at just a little street brawl. And growing up in South Africa, so you have a bicycle and you have this big chain, right? Like around your bicycle that you're going to go chain everything. Anyway, I was walking home with a bicycle, flat tire, took the chain off that's underneath my seat, and just a bunch of guys, or another kid come past me, and I just took the chain and just beat the crap out of this kid. I was just so angry because everything I talk about at school, I'm getting made fun of. Where do I go with all this emotion? What do I do with this? So that was the start of the anger. I'm 12 years old, going into 13, going into high school, 12 years old. Grandma knew about that, and she's like, why are you so angry? And so that's when I broke about the physical abuse. Like, look at me. Now in South Africa, when you go to school, it's you don't wear civil clothes. It's all uniform. Yep. Yeah. Long story short, so I got undressed and I am bruised everywhere. If it wasn't a kettle cord, so we don't drink percolated coffee as much. South Africa, it's all instant coffee. So you have a kettle, and the kettle cord was usually the first thing to find that my mom would find to beat the shit out of me. Or a hockey stick, field hockey stick, you name it. Like I've ran the gamut. And my grandma saw this and she's like, no, this has got to stop. We lived with her for a while and got shipped off to boarding school at the age of 13 because I was just too much to handle. Because now I'm into puberty, raging. I didn't know what to do with all this emotion. I couldn't go this way. I couldn't go to school. They wouldn't understand. In the midst of it all, I'm still trying to be the hero and protecting my mom. And like, now how do I interact with an all boys boarding school and do life? Got in fight after fight after fight after fight. And I'm a scrawny kid. But it was because of my hurt. I just had to hurt someone. Because it just felt normal. Like now you know what I'm talking about. Do you understand this? And that was a every Friday night, every Saturday night, every Sunday night scenario. You're shipped off boarding school. You sneak out of boarding or the hostel. Sneak out of hostel, and you just go have your way out on the town, and then you throw steroids in there. That was a mean concoction, but I loved it. If I can be completely honest about that, like I enjoyed using steroids because it makes everything fire in your body.
Yeah, sure.
To a point where I started sedating with porn. I would hurt people, and now I have nowhere to turn to. And that was also hold on. That's when porn really became a massive vice for me. I've been introduced to porn at 9. Little Hustler magazine, blah, 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 blah. So I knew about porn, but then all of a sudden, technology makes it so easy to get in front of it. And that's I would say at the age of 14, that's when it became a real thing, like multiple times a day. Like I just couldn't deal with the guilt. Like, so this weekend was a big show. Now I have to go back to school. I got to do my sporting events, whether it's rugby, track and field hockey, you name it. I was very, very active. And then the weekends that we were allotted to go home, because it's a quarterly that we go to school, and once a quarter you were allowed to leave the hostel and go back to family. And I never went back to my mom. I always went back to my uncle's farm. And that I would say for the most part, that was actually more of a saving grace scenario for me than, because my uncle was one of those guys that was an actual father figure in my life, that would stand by me, but also not tolerate my shit. I didn't want to mess with him because he was on steroids too. He's the one that introduced me to steroids. Besides the doctor, but we can edit that out because the doctor subscribed me Deca for joints. But then he said, like, stack it with this. Anyway, we're going on a ramble.
It's another continent. I don't think it even applies. But what you got pent up rage.
Yep.
You're pouring steroids on top of it, which just takes your testosterone and your aggression to it. It's gas on a fire that is already burning hot.
Right.
You have no outlet for it. So it's coming out as fighting. It's coming out on the sports field, which leads to fighting, right? Yep. Because rugby is not a spectator. It's brutal, right?
It's yes. In between the four lines, it's controlled chaos, and that's what you thrive on.
Sure.
Right. Like even with the games that I played here in Glendale, you know, when your teammates come up to you and say, like, I'd much rather be on your side than playing against you.
Feels good.
After you just got done, like basically they stopped the whole match because this brawl is not going to stop. So it says something. Yeah, it inflates your ego in a sense, but at the same time, I'm like,
well, it answers a question, because for a lot of time, your life could be defined as I'm powerless.
Yep. Well,
I'm powerless to help myself. This is all happening to me. And in those moments when you're fighting and winning, or in a game and winning, or people are going like, you're strong, it feeds that little boy who doesn't want to be weak.
Well, and that's exactly to your point, you know, for many years, you know, like the way I counteracted the coward 1 through 4-year-old when I was trying to hide from my mom, right? Like I would always go to this one closet that's very dark, and she would always freaking find me, right? In my mind, I was like, I'm going to be safe in this little closet, right? I felt so weak and acted like a coward, or I looked at myself as a coward. It wasn't until at a liminal event, did some carpet work, and Chris Mosier, which you and I both know very well now, he changed the way I thought of it.
Yeah, me too.
He said, like, I'm going to stop you there. You might have acted cowardly, but you were no coward. What's a 4-year-old boy supposed to do?
That's right.
And after I was able to actually meditate on that and actually take that in, things became more clear than I've ever imagined could have been for my situation. And I'll die on that hill to this day. And that's what I'm trying to implement in this activation LDX coaching that I'm part of. It's a simple word, and switching your feedback loop on a simple word, you can use that as a catapult to conquer anything.
Similar story is it was Crucible before it was Liminal, and I had to go back and have a conversation with a child that I was 51 years old when I finally started dealing with all of my shit, right? And it's like I had to go back and have a conversation with 5-year-old, 6-year-old me and say, you did the best you could, right? What were you going to do, right? You wouldn't do it now. If you had 51-year-old wisdom and strength back then, you would have said, nope, not okay. But you didn't have that. And I had to let that kid off the mat. You did the best you can. And that's where you are. We're jumping way ahead though, right?
Right. Yep.
Well, no, but I mean, maybe that is like, hey, stay tuned for this, because it's like, this feels really hopeless. right? And I bet
yeah.
there's a lot of men and if you want to listen to this going, you're telling my story. It's not this, but it's this. But I felt that too.
Yeah.
And so you're in high school now, right?
Yeah.
You're in boarding school, but you're coming up. You're fighting. You're doing sports, and your uncle is probably the sole anchor, stability
Yep.
in your life.
Yep.
Right?
At that point, you
And,
know, 17 years old, and you know, you talked a little bit about it on a previous podcast. You know, yeah, here I am sitting in the hot seat. Yeah, I was that guy that beat a guy out of a gay club. We were like I said, we would just jump from one club to another club. So happened to be that I landed at this gay bar, and the first person that came out the door, like, just floored him.
That's the guy that's going to get it.
Yep. I went running back to my uncle's farm. I didn't care. I went straight back, like where the hostel is, boarding school is, and where my uncle's farm is, like a 2.5 hour drive. I got back to that farm as soon as I possibly can, and I got lost in the bush for 3 weeks. I couldn't stand myself. Something had to change. I felt so empty. I felt like I am the living monster that my mom created. And a big part of that I enjoyed. But up until that point, it was not fun anymore. I, to this day, don't know if that guy is alive. Or how he's doing, if he's, I don't know. I just don't know. That was the last interaction. I cleared up my record in South Africa in 2004, 2005 is when I came up over to the U.S.
Yeah. So if I remember your story, your uncle says, I got to get you out of here.
Yep. Yep.
Right? You're going to in prison. You're going to end up in jail or prison.
Well, so to the prison jail thing, there was a time in between there that, you know, from me beating the guy to before I actually went back to my uncle's farm, is I went to a local bar that we would all go to. You know, in South Africa, if you can grow a beard, you're legal to go to go into anything. And got cornered and got taken out of the bar, got cornered behind the bar, and put a gun in my face and said, like, if you don't leave the country, you will be dead in the next month. And that was part of also the come to Jesus moment.
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah.
It'll get attention.
Yep. Going back to the farm. So here's the thing. I get lost in the bush for 3 weeks, came back. It was February, 3 days after I turned 18. My dad shows up at my uncle's door. I don't know if I've told you this. Didn't know anything why my dad was absent. I wanted to rip my dad apart. Like, 3 days after I turned 18, now you want to show up in my life and tell me what I need to do? And my uncle was right behind me. He's in the kitchen so the front door is here. You walk right into the kitchen right here. And he can see, like, I'm getting antsy. So he actually steps in, close the door, and tell my dad to leave. And I yanked the door out of my uncle's hands and grabbed my dad. And that's also when my uncle grabbed me. And like all the farms in South Africa has a cooler room. It's where it's just once you got all the animals that you shoot for the season, you can just hang them up. So he actually, it's right next to the house. He carried me, locked me in there, because you can only open it from the outside. You can't open it from the inside.
It's a cooler.
Yep.
Yeah. It's a walk-in. Yeah.
He dumps me in there and tells my dad to leave. I'll get him cooled down. Sure enough, and this took place end of February at this point. My dad comes back. My uncle tells me, you need to listen to your dad. There's things that you had no idea about. I'm like, if he shows up here again, I'm going to hurt him because I want to. He's been nowhere. I haven't seen him since I was 6, 7. And now all of a sudden he wants to show up and tell me what I need to do with my life. Long story short, I said, sure, but you stay right next to me. I'll hear him out. I didn't know that my uncle and my dad had a conversation after he threw me in the cooler room. Long story short on that is the moment I see my dad, he shows me the, what do you call that? Like your you guys have it in America too. Like you're not allowed to see
Restraining order?
Restraining order until legal age. Legal age in South Africa is 18. Hence him showing up 3 days after I turned 18. And I asked my dad, this is forged. Like, there's no way my mom will get a restraining order against you after all the crap that she put me through. And he's like, this is not forged. This is the reason why I couldn't interact with you guys. I immediately, and now from my uncle's farm to where my mom lived at the time is maybe a 40-minute drive. Get in the truck, go and confront my mom, and I'm like, so what's this? Denial, denial, denial.
She's still with the drunk?
Yep. Yeah, the drunk didn't pass until 3 years ago now. Mm-hmm. And she's been with him since then. Mm-hmm. And so, I at the time I felt like just losing my complete cool, but something in my heart said like, it's going to serve you. Nothing is going to serve you here if you do lose your cool. So I'm glad for. At the time, at the time, I didn't know God. I grew up knowing about God, but I didn't know him. I'm like, look at what I went through. I don't believe in you.
Yeah.
F off.
Yeah.
Anyway, get back to the farm, and it was sheep shearing time in the midst of it. So I get I get in the chute. So we have, my uncle had Ile-de-France sheep, big meaty sheeps, and trying to catch one, and he actually pinned me down in the chute, broke 3 of my ribs, and I start coming undone on this poor sheep, just wailing on the thing. Uncle grabbing me, and he's like, how about you hit something that can hit back? Let's go right now. And I dropped to my knees. And that's the moment that he said, we got to get you out of South Africa. Listen to what your dad has to offer also. My dad offered to pay for my education or bring me to, I've wanted to come to the US because I've interacted with Americans so much, and they're always like, hey, hunting is big in America. You got to come and check out the hunting scene this side, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, yeah, I would like to do that. It sounds pretty fun. So I took him up on the offer. He paid my way to come to the US with fare and the visas and all that kind of stuff. And I landed in Iowa with a farmer there.
Because there's some type of an exchange program, right? Like farm workers can come over here because where we shoot geese out in Hudson, there's a bunch of South Africans out there on a similar type program, right?
Yep. It's called the H-2A ag visa.
Yeah.
So
you came over on that, landed in Iowa.
Yep. On the Corn Belt. That's usually where they need most of the laborers, cheap laborers. Because it's 10 months, like or it's up to 10 months. You can be here for 3 months, up to 10 months, for how long ever the farmer needs you for. Great program. So yes, got signed up with that, landed in Iowa, first in a hog farm. And that guy treated us like the hogs we worked with. He did not treat us very well, to a point of me choking him up against the wall, saying like, you do not, this is where I draw the line. You treat me as a human being, and I will work my butt off for you. If there's one thing I can do, is I will work hard. And then since then, we never talked, and I saw my 8 months through with him, and then insert City View Farms. Ken Franken. He showed me what grace and love really looks like, and forgiveness. At the time, I didn't know what forgiveness is. I'm a hot-headed South African, full of emotion. Got in a tangle on the silage pile with another South African that just kept on showing up drunk. And, you can just, like, we're here to work. So fulfill your duties, work. Don't go out every evening and get drunk and all that kind of stuff. Anyway, on the silage pile, I'm beating the living shit out of the South African. Well, that's just what we do. Like, we get in a scuffle. But Ken pulls up on the silage pile, and he sees this unfold and picks me up, and he's like, we're going to go for a ride. Okay, hold on. Let me pause you there. This family is a very strong Christian family, the Frankens. To a point, every noon, we would break the whole farm. All the employees would break, and we'd go to their house and have a noon meal, prepared meal with devotion and prayer. And then we would go back into to do our daily chores, labor, whatever we need to do, home manure, it's a farm, right? You can you can keep yourself busy 24/7, and that was just superficial for me. Like, or in my and the way I took it was just like, oh, this is okay, you know. It wasn't until that moment where he's like, we're gonna take a ride, and he drops me off at anger management, and I'm crying at that time because I'm so embarrassed. Like, gosh, now Ken saw the real me. Just want to hide in shame and wallow in my pity. Walked in, anger management, got checked in.
So is this a facility? Is it a hospital? Is it an inpatient? Is it a an AA meeting? What is it?
It started with an inpatient. 'Cause for one, it didn't even start there. I broke my thumb. I got that all casted up, and then we went to inpatient and see like what's really going on. Because in the truck ride, I alluded to like, hey, this is my past, and he's like, I understand a scuffle. You don't do scuffle. You hurt people. I'm like, yeah. That's the whole point of a fight. I'm gonna win. Period. And so he's like, so we went to this inpatient in Spencer, Iowa. And there I got from there I got introduced to my actual therapist that was at like this AA. There is Alcohol Anonymous in there also, but it's this facility where you can check in. And that's where they also trigger you and push limits and then get you back and dissect what that limit looked like. You know, like just first it was 3 days a week for the first year. And then after that, I only needed to go back in for 1 day a week for the next 3 years. But if I lost any condition, or if I lost my cool, I would essentially relapse back into the 3 times a week, structured.
Okay, so let me take a call time out. Okay, Ken is this farmer in Iowa. He hires South Africans to come in and work.
Yep.
He loves Jesus. He loves God's word. He loves his family. Okay. There's a punk that's hurting people, right? And I guess because there's a Ken listening to me somewhere, a type of Ken, right? There's a guy who doesn't think he's not a pastor. He's not a this. He's not a that. Nope. He's just a good man. Yep. Okay. Most people would say, hit the road.
Oh, yeah.
Like, put you in the truck and take you back to the
airport.
Right? Go there. Yeah, I don't need the liability, whatever. I would say that you didn't have insurance or any type of coverage that would pay for that. So Ken paid for it.
Yep.
So
out of his own pocket.
Out of his own pocket. So Ken puts his arm around you, takes you under his wing, makes it pretty much conditional.
Of course.
Hey, right? Which is right. So that's tough love, right? Hey, I want you here, but if you're going to be here, there's some conditions. One of them is this anger management. I'll pay for it, all that, right? And so what's going on? You're, 19 at that point?
Yep.
All right? So you're 19 years old. You've never experienced really love. You've seen maybe love from your uncle, but he had his own crap, all right?
Correct.
You've never experienced grace. You've never experienced anything like this. What compartment are you putting this in? Because this isn't. Is this how they do it in America? This is not how we do it in America. This is how Ken does it. This is how this man on this farm does it, right?
Correct.
How are you're doing math in your head? What are you making sense out of? Why are you taking care of me? Nobody takes care of me.
And hence me saying like that's the first time I felt loved. For somebody not to react to my rage, but actually sit with me in my rage, not saying a thing. All he said is like, we're going to take a ride. And then when we got it all bandaged up, you know, still at that point, like it's quiet in the truck. My mind is going a mile a minute. Like, gosh, I failed again. I'm getting deported. 2, I'm getting blacklisted, never coming back to America ever again. When I get back to South Africa, I'm dead. That's
a bad truck ride.
That's the only 3 things I thought of at the time.
Mm-hmm.
There's no, now you've seen my everything. This is how this is my operating procedure. Mm-hmm. This is how I run my life. Mm-hmm. There is no turning back from this.
But he didn't put you on a plane.
Mm-mm.
He took care of you. So now you're in this cycle now, and tell me about the changes now that's starting in your life, because something's starting to change then.
Right. For one, knowing that they were Christians, and also my therapist that I checked in with was also Christian based. And that's when I started realizing like something about this Jesus cat is worth, I don't know, researching or worth listening to. Every time I would get done with counseling, Ken would call me back into his house. So where his house was, we had a trailer right next to the house that the South Africans would live in. So he would know exactly when we're in and out. Mm-hmm. So I would come back. He would call me on the radio. He was like, hey, he had all sorts of names. It was T-Bone, it's T-Bird, it's Teaspoon, or just T or whatever. He would get on the radio.
My truck calls you Cheyenne. It's really weird.
I've heard
Tiaan, Cheyenne. So Cheyenne and Micah, the message is like, I'm like, who's Cheyenne? Anyway, sorry.
Oh, you're good.
Let me call you Cheyenne from now on.
There you go. So you get on the radio and he's like, hey, come and check in with me. Talk to me what you went through. And we would open it up with prayer. I'm like, why would we want to pray? Why do we want to pray now? Like, there's no time for praying right now. I have a lot of stuff to tell you. Mm-hmm. But he would calm me down in a way that I've never felt before. And that was to me was very intriguing. Mm-hmm. Like, how can you manipulate my soul to a point where I actually want to sit down and talk with you and have a good conversation?
Is that how you felt he was manipulating your soul?
That's what it felt like. Like it's like the cobra coming out with his whistle kind of thing, and I'm just like in awe. Like, yeah,
he's going Jedi on you.
Yeah, it was insane. Like how he can not manipulate, but just navigate me in such a gentle way, but also at the same time very stern, like a father figure. And we like, tell me about this, and what is coming up for you when you get to this point. You're triggered, and then how do you come back and process what you just went through and stay where you're at, and where is the grace in that? And it was always the challenge, where is the grace in that? Over and over and over, like a broken record.
What do you think he's trying to get you to understand?
At that point, I did not know.
Okay, looking back.
Looking back, it was honestly for me, it was just for me to collect my thoughts. Like before you act out, before you are a hothead, period. But before that, something happened where you can actually be like, well, hey, I stubbed my toe today and that hurt. That's okay. Move on. Not just lump sum all your emotion about everything that went wrong and then call it depression and lose your shit. Mm-hmm. Like, no, dissect your day as you go about your daily life and understand, like, there's a time and a place for everything. Mm-hmm. So it didn't go your way. Are you the victim? Are you going to find a reason? Or are you going to find the excuse? Oh, shit, life just happened to me. No, it doesn't happen that way. So for him, looking back now, it was just for me to be here now. Stay in this moment and understand what you're trying to learn out of this. Which direction are you going to go with this? But sit for a minute.
A lot of times when we say, there's a phrase that I think that we rolls off the tongue, but I don't think that we understand what we're saying. I think what Ken's saying is you need to give yourself some grace there.
Yep. Right.
And by that means, hey, everything is not a hill to die on. Everything is not a proving contest. Everything is not a statement about are you worthy or not worthy. Correct. Some things are just like you stubbed your toe. It doesn't make you a bad human being or a good human being. It's just like you stubbed your toe, right? And life is not all good or life is not all bad based on the last 5 minutes. And like what we do is we jump and we go like, this is just one more thing, that stuff that happened at 4, all gets in, I stubbed my toe, and then you're in front of me and I'm going to beat the shit out of you.
Correct.
Right? And
100%
like,
true.
So let's just separate some things out because you can't carry all that.
Correct. Right?
But when you try to carry it all, then it all comes out every time.
And all of it.
Yeah.
Over and over again. Yeah. And that was the control that he was able to display for me. I mean, I've seen Ken pissed off too, but still the way he would come back from that, like it's not a week-long bull in a china shop. It's like within minutes. And he's like, hey guys, you know what? let's huddle up. I acted out, and he would own that.
Mm-hmm.
He wouldn't find an excuse.
Mm-hmm.
He would just own it, like, I
When
was
did
out of
you
line.
start owning for yourself this faith that he's referring to and demonstrating to you?
Crucible 2016.
Okay, so that's pretty recent.
Yeah,
Out in Iowa, did faith start making sense for you?
it did. So I went through a thing called YATEC,
Okay.
Young Adults Together Encounter Christ. That's like, it's a little weekend getaway for kind of like what you guys have out here, like the...
What about you guys? You've lived in Colorado as long as me.
No, come on. Vicky, his wife,
Yeah.
she's like, she signed me up, and he's like, you're gonna go. I'm like, okay, I'm in. It wasn't until I went through YATEC that I started realizing weakness isn't, or the difference between weakness and vulnerability.
They're not the same.
But I would utilize, or I would look at myself as a weak man. If I become vulnerable with whomever I'm in the space with, I'm immediately weak.
Sure.
Man, was I wrong.
Right.
The more I was able to express and navigating what's really going on in here, the better the connection happened between my heart and my head, and the better, or the less power all my baggage that I came with had over me. And it just like a melting iceberg, slowly, but it does happen. So I would say, like, that was the starting point of understanding, like, it's okay to be vulnerable. It's okay to let people in. Because at the same time, what I haven't told you also is, like, so I had my mom that I trusted wholeheartedly, supposedly. And then I had we were just supposed to be together. I had a girlfriend in high school. I was the captain of the field hockey team. She was the captain of the field hockey team. Anyway, we moved her out to college. I moved her out to college, got drunk one night, slept together. It's when I lost my virginity. And one thing that I told her, like, I will never do is, like, until we get married, I will not have sex with you. Woke up the next morning and butt naked. And I asked her, what happened last night? And she's like, we had the most wonderful night ever. And I'm like, out. It's the last time I saw her. So now it's 2 for 2 now. 2 girls that I trusted with my life fucked me. Period. That's just as well as you can put it. The biggest reason why I turned to porn was so that I can deface women. Like, and if I have to be completely honest with you right now, I still despise women. I have this severe, I can tolerate you.
Don't trust you.
But, okay, insert my wife, 2011. That's a different story. But for me, that was, I'm not getting married. I'm done with women. All they do is they understand the power they have over men, and they're going to use it to the best their capabilities. And that was it. So I said no more. I would still look at porn so that I can deface you and take my power back. How was I going to tie this in again now with the topic? With Vic telling me that I am going to go to YATEC. Didn't trust until Ken said, no, I'm taking you. Yes, boss. So the distrust started there. And then there was a different way I was going to tie this in as well.
Well, you're risking vulnerability now.
Now, all of a sudden, I'm going through YATEC and just life in general. I'm interacting with females, and I can't be this raging bull that just, because I do speak my mind. Everybody that knows me knows exactly what I'm thinking at all times, to my sometimes demise. But anyway, long story short, like, I would over exaggerate even that towards women. So for a long period of time, I was heavy sexist. Like, I just, you stay your course, I stay my course. Insert vulnerability, insert grace again. I'm really getting sick of that word at this point. But if that doesn't make you move, you're not going to hear that chain shake. Right?
Wow. So
that rattled my cage for a while. And then God said, guess what? I have plans with you, plans for you. Brielle. She stepped into my life couldn't have been at any better time. Got done with the farm, got done with anger management. And her and our paths crossed.
Would you consider yourself a Christian at that point?
I was still skeptical.
Okay.
I was still skeptical. It wasn't until Brielle.
Okay.
That I started truly understanding God's grace.
Okay.
And here's why. 3 days before our 1-year anniversary, she caught me with
So you brought porn into your marriage with you.
hardcore, and the lies, the deceit, the everything. I wasn't clean of porn at that point. Anger management got me through my teenage years. Insert 2016, when Crucible got me back to the 4-year-old boy. But Brielle endured crazy amount of pain. And she kept on with insecurities, but she kept on showing up with love, tremendous amount of love and grace. That's what showed me God's true purpose for grace. Forgiveness. You just preach about forgiveness. She's got every right in God's green earth to not forgive me for what I have done to her, but she would verbally say it over and over and over again every day. I can't match that. Not now.
Wow.
If I have to go back to my mom right now and say, I forgive you, I would choke. I would fall dead on my words. I did not know how much power she actually had over that 4-year-old boy. And I'm 37.
Just a couple of things to jump out at me. First of all, if I was Brielle's dad, I would have said run.
Well, they did. They never actually said yes to our marriage.
You would tell your daughter the same thing if she brought home a Tiaan. You'd be like, no. But I mean, the same thing is Robin pulled me back towards Christ, you know, and she's giving me grace. Let's talk about forgiveness for a minute, okay? Because it kind of got stirred up, all right? 2 things. I think forgiveness is a journey, and I think that one of the questions I got after that forgiveness sermon is, do I have to go back and have a conversation with somebody, all right? So your mom's still alive?
Yeah.
Yeah. Forgiveness has nothing to do with her.
100% correct.
Right? It has to do with, am I going to be held captive? Am I allow her to still have the power over me that she had when I was 4, 5, 10, right? And that is, she doesn't. But that doesn't mean that you have to go like, hey, can we start doing Thanksgiving together? And can we be a part of each other's life?
Hard boundaries will still be held.
Yeah. It's there are consequences.
Right.
And I'm following up on that forgiveness talk with this is that, hey, forgiveness, it's like vulnerability doesn't mean weakness. Forgiveness doesn't mean there aren't consequences.
Right.
Right. So she's forfeited some rights and some things that just aren't coming back. That's not because you're not non-forgiving. It's because it's wise. Right. Right.
100%. Holy balls. Yeah.
So here's one of the number one questions I got after that forgiveness talk that I think I still see some glimpses of a wrestling match in you. Forgiveness of yourself, for yourself. Forgiveness for almost killing a man in South Africa. When you go like, I don't even know if he's alive. You kind of, whatever, right? When you think about some of the stuff that's happened, how you put Brielle through the ringer for years, right? Yep. Have you forgiven yourself for that?
So there's a feedback loop on that, right?
I'm sure there is.
Big part of me don't want to, because I utilize that as the fire that I have to get somewhere in life. To be the beacon, and it's a moving target, right? Like and that's the other thing is like I don't want to forgive myself, because if I do, how soon is it going to be before I'm complacent and just think like, well, this is good enough for me right now? No, I can't sit there. I pack my schedule so full so I don't have to pay too much attention to forgiving myself. Because if I do, what bad thing is going to happen? Or you've heard it said before as well, what good thing is going to be? What good can come from that?
I'm not fishing for the right or wrong answer there, because
I don't think there is a right or a wrong in this.
Well, there probably is, but I haven't figured it out. Right. So like, if you have a wolf chasing you, you can get a lot of shit done.
Oh yeah.
Right. So if that fear and insecurity going, I have to prove that I'm not that weak kid that got hurt as a kid. That can make you. That can drive you.
Yep.
It can cause you to be successful in your career. You can build a big church, because if you don't, then it confirms that you're just a weak little kid in a barn, right?
Right.
You have to be successful. You have to have leadership. You have to have whatever, and there is a danger sometimes of there's not danger. There's a fear of, if I don't have that wolf chasing me, will I run?
Perfectly said.
Right? So when I started realizing that that's exhausting, it gets a lot of stuff done, but it's a really bad motivator for life.
Okay.
Instead of, so I've been, rather than running from, I'm now trying to run to. Does that make sense? I'm trying to run to. So the reason I pack my schedule is I want to create a world for Brielle and my 3 kids.
Right.
I want to work my ass off, not because if I don't, I'm a failure, but because Robin feels so safe right now.
Right.
You know, I want to walk up 5 steps and turn right and talk to thousands of people, not so that they all tell me I did a good job and now I can confirm I'm important.
Yeah.
Is that when I taught on forgiveness, I have the best seat in the house.
I bet you did.
Because when I go, what's yours? And I watch 100 heads hit the shoulder next to them, trying to just not fall apart, because everybody has a wolf, right? Everybody has a whatever that is. And so I'm trying to not give advice, one thing, but I'm trying to say, am I running from something bad, which is exhausting, or am I running to something that's actually better? And running to something good is sustainable. And running from something bad is just fear-based exhaustion.
True. It's funny that you'd said that, because by Brielle, my wise old oak sage, however you want to.
Listen, just don't call her an old oak on video.
Hey, she knows her. Babe, I got you.
I'm looking out for you. I'm looking out for you.
No, like, so here's the thing. A thing that recently came up in our relationship is like, so yes, I can build shit, and I can build some quality stuff too, right?
You built some for me.
I sure did. And so I'm in the process of finishing my basement. We have a third on the way, so we got to make some room. And I'm motivated to do it so I can get a nice gun room out of it. But it took me forever.
I don't think that's selfishness. I think it's wisdom, but go ahead.
I like the way you're thinking too. But like, I was procrastinating on it because I kept on feeling like, and it's been a thing between Brielle and I, like, I just feel like I'm your handyman, because we can do some really nice things to our house without paying a buttload of money to get it done. Right. So for the longest period, I just felt like I'm just your handyman, and you're taking advantage, because here we go again, right? Women taking advantage of me. Like that feedback loop never really dies. So I would kick back against that hardcore until she challenged me and saying, like, you have a gift. It's exactly the same thing that you just said. You have a gift to bless us, your family, your 2 kids, soon to have 3rd kid, to give them something really, really nice. Why are you holding back? That lit a fire up my butt like none other. Like, I'm almost done framing the basement.
Who puts you in the role of I'm her handyman? Brielle or you?
Me?
Yeah.
Hardcore me.
Yeah, she didn't want you to be your handyman. She wants to be your provider, which is what you signed up for. Hey, this is awesome. I'm gonna land the plane. How old are you?
37.
37. There's a 37-year-old guy out there that's listening right now. He hasn't been breathing for about 30 minutes. All right. He feels like his past, what he's done, he has shame around it. Nobody knows, right? He has secrets. Everybody says when I stand up on stage and go, hey, I'm 5 minutes away from, I could take my life in 5 minutes. Everybody thinks I'm being like pious and whatever. It's like, oh no, but I have rehearsed it. It's I'm very capable of it, right? We all have secrets. We all have dark thoughts. We all have things that nobody knows about, right? And if they did, they'd say, there's the door. That's our fear, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So there's a guy's been listening to your story, right? It may not be his mom, but it might be somebody else abusing him. It might be a failure. It might be anger. It might be something else that's happened, and he's got a rage inside of him, right? And he hasn't met kin yet. He doesn't have a kin, all right? So I want you to talk to two people that are listening to this, all right? A kin and a young Tiaan out there who is full of rage and doesn't know what to do, right? So let's talk to young Tiaan out there, 25-year-old Tiaan. He's got all this anger, hurt, and rage right now. If you could speak to him right now, I want you to kind of put on that sage. I don't have it all figured out, but I've learned a few things along the way. Here's what I would coach you to do, because you're trying to coach young leaders, right?
Yeah.
Coach young Tiaan out there, or Cheyenne, or whoever, T-Dog, T-Bag, whatever, right?
Yeah. Love it.
Coach him right now, going, hey, a couple things I've learned along the way that you might want to consider would be what?
Wow. A couple things. And yeah, by no means have I
You're not an expert. You're not a counselor. You're like, hey, I've learned a couple things along the way.
Yep. My
cup's half full. I'm pouring it into your cup. What is that?
It honestly is, for one, surround yourself with the men or the party that you want to become. 100%. And, in the famous words of David Goggins, nobody's going to come to save you. There's no more truer words than that. If you don't
I said it in my sermon last week.
Yep.
Nobody's coming.
Exactly, right? So, and let yourself, you said it now multiple times, let yourself off the mat. Sit in the grace of your own presence, even if it is for 5 minutes in the morning. Like, I'm fortunate enough to be up really early and sit and honestly just meditate for 5 minutes and then get right into God's word. Mm-hmm. And I'm going through Romans, and man, what better book it is to go through for me.
It's a good one.
To work through the book of Romans. But for one is, if you're not moving, you're not going to hear your chains. So start moving. Understand who makes you, you. Even if you have to go into, like, I love my mirror. I write that shit down every time. If I something comes up, I'll write it down. And then I'll just ask for, it doesn't even have to be affirmation, but the most important affirmation is in your four walls. Get it from your wife and your kids. All the rest is gravy. If you get something there, that's gravy.
Okay.
Bring it back to your four walls. Now for the kin.
Yeah, so there's a kin out there. And he's looking around, he's going, I got some young punks in my life, right? And the typical thing is we just throw people away. Mm-hmm. Like we live in a culture that throws people away really, really fast because they're hard, because they're frustrating, because they're messy, right? Mm-hmm. Ken didn't throw you away.
No, because he loved more. Love more. Step into that spot. Even makes you, if it makes you feel uncomfortable, so if you have kids or you don't have kids, doesn't matter. Like, you'll understand, like, one kid you can love a little and they'll be okay, and they'll be, that's good enough for them. I look at my boy, the harder I love him, the greater response I get out of him. Mm-hmm. Right? That's what Ken was to me. Like, if I'm talking to Ken, step in, get uncomfortable, love harder. Period. Mm-hmm. Don't shy away from that opportunity to bring somebody out of their darkness and shine just a little matchlight onto something that they had no clue that was that needed course correction. Mm-hmm. Do it. Don't be afraid of it. There's beauty in that. Mm-hmm. Period. 100%. Right. I just needed that one light just to understand, for one, where I came from, but also see the potential that I have. Not just focus on, like, wow, this guy is just totally screwed up, discard him, but understanding the passion, because a lot of people love guys with big hearts, but not a lot of people stand around for the big emotion that comes after that.
That's true.
Right?
Yeah. Stand in
that space, and just hold on. It's a wild ride, but it's a beautiful ride.
It's been awesome getting to know you over the last several years, because I've never seen anybody or a few people whose righteous anger for protection and justice, and within moments I can see you swing over to absolutely broken-hearted sobbing for the burden that somebody has to carry.
And that's just it, Jim. Like, I will be a beacon for men that went through this. Mm-hmm. And if you need to reach out to me, get a hold of me, social media, I don't care.
Yeah.
Get a hold of me. Like we can talk about anything. I'm an open book.
Yeah.
Dude, like I'm not going to hold anything back, but I'm also going to hold you fiercely accountable because I needed that.
Yeah.
And I know how important that was to me to get that slap in the face and be like, dude, wake up, get out of your head, get into your heart and act. Start taking action, period.
I can't think of a better way to end than that.
Boom.
Thanks, Tiaan, T-Bag,
Tiaan.
T-Dog, Tiaan. All right. Thanks a lot. Bye.
See ya. Thank you, sir.